Behind the Shades.
So take us through the process. So how do you help someone discover their purpose?
Well, good question. I can just tell people right here and now and just like get rid of all the secrets around it. Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. Okay. So here's the thing about purpose. Everyone's overthinking it. I shouldn't say everyone. In general, people are overthinking the concept of finding their purpose. And what I'd love to share, first and foremost, is that we all have the same purpose, which just makes it super easy. We level the playing field. So what is our purpose if everyone has the same purpose? I totally disagree with you. We all have different purposes. Well, here's the thing. Our purpose here on this planet is to grow and to learn and to expand and to elevate and to be the very biggest, boldest, best version of ourselves that we possibly can be on this journey. That is our purpose. That's why we landed on this planet, why we were born, is to learn, to grow, and to be great, to be amazing. Our gifts are what are different from person to person, as well as what we choose, our calling or our mission, the thing that we want to do with our greatness and our gifts, those gifts that we're inherently landed on this planet with. Like I was just watching The Voice last night, and I mean, some of those people on The Voice, they were just born to sing. They were born to pick up an instrument and be able to play it without ever taking a lesson. That's just a gift. That's not their purpose, though. Their purpose is to step into the greatness of who they are and maybe use that gift as a vehicle of transformation somehow. Maybe it's musical therapy. Maybe it's nothing to do with music. Maybe that's just one of their gifts. So that's the first piece that I think is always really, really important to get people to sort of wrap themselves around is, oh, well, that makes it easy. I can just stop looking for my purpose because it's right here, right? It's right here.
That's perfect. And that made me think about my purpose. And I hope I got it right. So I'm going to use myself as a guinea pig, everyone. So one of my gifts, not saying that I have many, but one of my gifts would be speaking well, right? And then a purpose could be to help others.
That would be your calling or your mission or your vehicle of transformation. So you got it. So your purpose is to be the most amazing version of you that you possibly can, which is what you're doing. One of your gifts is your ability to speak well, and you're using that gift through the power of podcasting and many other ways. That's how you're stepping into and owning your purpose and using it as a vehicle of transformation to share with other people.
Okay, so that makes sense. So the gift is different. So sorry, the gift is unique to the person. The way they're expressing that gift is unique to the person, but the outcome is the same for everyone.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So even, and I think sometimes too, people get lost in the idea that everything has to be massive. Like I have to eliminate world hunger. Well, some people's purpose as they step into and own their greatness is to be the most amazing mother that they possibly can be and raise the most beautiful children, well-rounded, balanced, respectful, intelligent, fun-loving children. That might be the calling that person has. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's grandiose.
Okay. I think I fully got it now. So in the situation where someone's a mother, one of their gifts would be the many tools that they're using to raise that child.
Yeah.
Patience, listening, communication,
Yes.
things of that nature. And the way they use those gifts is unique to them. And that's the vehicle, as you mentioned. But the ultimate purpose is to be that. Okay, I got it.
And how they share it, like how you choose to share your gifts with the world is going to be different than how I share my gifts with the world, and how the mom chooses to share her gifts with her world, which is maybe her children and her family. So that's the piece. I think that's how, we can actually simplify it, is to really just start with number one. We all have the same purpose, is to just be the most amazing version of you that you can possibly be. The second is identify your gifts. It's always interesting when I'm working with a client. One of the things I always want to ask is, what is your greatest gift to the world? And I would say 8 out of 10 times people go, I have no idea what my gift is. So really tapping into and owning the gift that you've been given, whatever it happens to be, and then identifying, how are you hiding it from the world?
And I think, to your earlier point, we do complicate it, because when I was trying to come up with it, there was a little bit of a struggle. But then when you broke it down and you said, Terrain, this is it, you realize how simple it is. And then to this point you just made, it seems like it's just understanding, and once again, not overthinking it. Like when you ask someone, what is your gift? People are like, well, I don't know. But everyone has to have one, because that's how you start to fulfill your purpose.
Yay!
I understand, everyone. I understand. Mia
Good job.
She's a savior of Canada. Well, the world. I'm not going to limit her to just one country, right? So
there you go.
All right. So
got it.
If I want to share that with others, more so than outside of here, right? And you mentioned, when we started talking about finding your purpose, are there steps for someone to take to, one, identify their gifts, and then identify how they want to use that?
Yeah. That's a tricky one, because as we know, the first step to any form of expansion and understanding is awareness. Like without an awareness around something, you can't possibly create choices. You can only just be in that experience the way it is. So the first step around identifying someone's gifts and their vehicle of transformation, or their calling, or their mission, whatever you want to call it, is to start asking questions that they've never been asked before. So they have to think about their life in a way that they've never thought about it before, such as the example I just gave you. What is your greatest gift to the world? And most people go, being a mom. And I'll say, that's a role. That's a role that you fill. That's not your gift. And it's amazing how many people can't separate the roles that they fill. That becomes their identity, not their gift. So a role could be, I'm an accountant, and I'm a wife, and I'm a mother, and I'm a grandmother, and I'm a daughter, and I'm an athlete, and I'm a whatever it happens to be. And that's all beautiful and wonderful, amazing. It's things you've accomplished. They're roles that you fill. But who are you when you get rid of the roles? What are the gifts that you have when you eliminate all those roles? Are you a visionary? Are you a connector? Are you a leader? Are you an empath? Who are you? What is your gift? So, yeah.
Yeah, because you're stripping away the roles, but that question must be a difficult one, because I think when we start to fill a role, we believe that role defines us, such as people become parents. Like, well, I'm always this. But then when you ask them, how were you before you had your children? I think sometimes they forget.
Yeah. Or who am I without children? And that actually is quite often the demographic that I work with, is people that have gotten to that place in life where all of a sudden their roles have changed. They're no longer mom taking care of kids at home or whatever it happens to be. They all of a sudden, the roles have changed, and they're sitting in this pocket and they're going, who am I? Oh my goodness, who am I? Like, I don't know who I am without all this stuff. So really being able to ask the questions that open doors, that invite people to walk through and go, oh my goodness, I had no idea this was on the other side of the door.
How scary of a question is that for the people you deal with?
I think it can be very scary. and very overwhelming if there's just a blank slate. They can't see anything. And all you have to do is come at it from a different angle, a different angle, a different angle, which is different question. And all of a sudden, I'll be like, oh, I get it. I had an interesting conversation with a client recently, or a new client, and our first session together, she was crying a lot, which sometimes I do that to people, not intentionally. Anyway, she was crying and crying. And then I was asking her a question about this, and she started crying and crying. And then I asked her another question. She started crying. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just so sensitive. I'm just always crying. And I'm like, sweetheart, that is your gift, is your sensitivity. You just haven't learned to bubble wrap it. That's all. And her whole life, she's been told, you're too sensitive, you're too sensitive, you're too sensitive. So for her, it's a liability, but in actual fact, it's her greatest gift.
And then she can use that. Now, I'm learning. So she can use that to become, like, say, maybe she's like an empath to others, right?
The only challenge for her now becomes, okay, I get this. This is actually a gift, not a liability. Now the next step is to learn how to put boundaries around it and to protect it so that you can use it in a way that's healthy for her as well as for other people.
So in a way, at least it sounds like to me, once you help them to identify it, there's some rebuilding in that process, because as you mentioned, they can have a gift, but to the outside world, it was viewed as maybe something that's detrimental or a liability, such as a sensitivity. Or someone, let's say, someone's gift is that they can work long hours, but someone may look at that as, well, you're always away from your friends, from your family. Right. They may some resistance there, but you help them to understand that, hey, don't look at it like this. How about if you look at it like this? Protect it with your boundaries and then move forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And the example you just gave, like, I would suggest that person's gift might be hyper focused, their ability to be hyper focused, and then have them look at how that gift of being hyper focused is actually getting in their way, not serving them as well as serving them, so that they can step back and go, oh, I never thought of it that way. How could this not be serving me? I don't know. You tell me, how is it not serving you? Well, my wife does tell me I'm never home. Okay, well, what do you want to do about that then? It's really just about asking.
Go ahead.
It's just about asking questions that, people just don't think about.
Yeah, because that must be hard, because I'm looking at it as, if that was told to me, depending on who it came from and how often you're hearing it, you may put that gift to the side, and then there may be someone who doesn't get to benefit of it positively.
Mm-hmm.
So are we to say that any gift that we have shouldn't, at least from the onset, be looked at as a negative? We just need to understand it in a positive light.
I would say every gift that we have, it needs to be nurtured and protected. So if, do you understand what I mean by that? Like, I feel as though a gift could be, I don't want to say a liability. Imagine that your gift is being a leader, but you're a tell, yell, sell leader, like someone who's started a war, let's say. You're a tell, yell, sell leader. Like, this is how it is. There's no question. I'm right. You're wrong. I will always be. You do it my way. This is how. So that gift is being used in a detrimental way. Whereas a leader, I mean, Nelson Mandela was a leader, and he led from behind, gently moving and nudging people forward. What a beautiful, amazing gift that was, when you use it that way.
Yeah, you have two gifts, and it's a choice how you're going to use it, right? You have, let's say, someone that's more draconian, where they're like, not the metaphorical whip, right, to move the masses. Yes. Where you have someone else who's gently saying, okay, we can do this together. Let's inspire you instead of trying to maybe bully you.
That's right, exactly. And the key there, you said the word choice. It's a choice. Interestingly, it's only a choice if you have the awareness around the fact that it's a choice. If you don't have any, like you just are like, this is how a leader leads, this is how it is, there is no choice except to lead that way. So that is part of this whole conversation that we're having. It's about creating these pockets of awareness where you can go, holy cow, I never thought of it that way before.
Can that be used in relationships, like romantic relationships as well?
1000%.
And how would you coach someone to use it in their dating experiences?
I had just had a really interesting situation happen with a client, a conversation happen with a client, and it was around their relationship. They've been married for 13 years. And she was talking about how relationships are so hard. And I laughed and I said, do they have to be hard? She goes, well, they are hard. And I'm like, or you're making it hard? And she said, what? I said, or possibly, are you making it hard? And so she took a step back. I said, what you've shared with me is that your husband has given you permission to do all the things that you love to do. But you want it to be more than that. You want it to you want to make it into drama. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, I bet you my friends are looking at me going, I wish I had that relationship. I'm like, yeah. But just in her head, she said, I have these conversations in my head all the time about how things are going. I answer his questions for me in my head without ever asking him. So I said to him, why don't you ask him the question that you're asking yourself in your head? So she did that. And she was shocked with the answer. She's like, I never ever thought of it that way.
I think that type of awareness that you just described in relationships is difficult. It sounds like this person had to make themselves vulnerable in a way, right? Because you're asking someone, I don't know the type of question, but you're asking someone a question that you've already answered to yourself, but then you actually ask the question to the person, you get an answer that's like, maybe I wasn't expecting that, or maybe that was a little bit different. And I look at maybe single men and women, because these days it seems like there's so many of them, right? And if you were to ask them the question about awareness of themselves, how many people ask themselves questions that, am I the reason why this isn't working? Am I the reason why this is going left? Am I the reason why I can't get what I find? And I think looking at yourself in that type of way is probably one of the most vulnerable experiences we can have.
Absolutely. Really accepting personal responsibility for how it is 100%. Like, what is my role in this breakdown? What is my role in my inability to find someone and connect deeply with them? What am I responsible for in this? That's an unusual way for people to talk to themselves. It's usually about what's over there. Why this didn't work is over there. When you turn it around and you look at what's not working from the mirror, all of a sudden, wow, it just changes your whole perspective. It really changes. And especially if you can do that in a long-term relationship where you start really owning and taking responsibility for what's not working in a relationship, from a personal standpoint, as opposed to, we're always trying to make it over there about the other person, right? It's your responsibility to make sure that I feel supported. It's your responsibility to make sure that you bring, I don't know what happens, but when you take the responsibility on yourself and ask the questions, just like you said, that's a whole level of awareness again. Those are people who are operating on a level of awareness where they actually see the world like hugely. They're looking around and they're seeing the color of the trees, and they're seeing people walking by, and they're hearing music, that they're seeing the world 3-dimensionally or 5-dimensionally, as opposed to just.
Yeah, it's a shame that so many people see the world in a reactive or in a hindsight type of way, right? Like, I have an example where someone that I know, she was going through some difficulty in her relationship. And when she was mentioning it to me, because that I coach as well, and I asked her, why did she do that? She was like, I don't know. I was like, okay, why didn't you know? She was like, I don't know. And then I asked her, I was like, if you could do it differently, would you? And she says yes. So then I asked her the question, then why didn't you think about what you're going to do before you did it? And then she said she doesn't know. And I use that example because I think there's so many of us is that we're just reacting, right? Me and I have an argument. I react. I don't sit back and say, okay, wait a minute. Why are we having this argument? Is Mia going through something? Am I going through something? Let's get an understanding, right? It's more so, this is what happened. I'm upset. And then you react. You may go for a drive. You may slam doors. You may say that we're getting a divorce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I position that because I know sometimes in my experiences what the obstacles are for people of that, right? But what are some of the obstacles that you observed when you're helping these clients along in this type of journey?
Well, just in this particular topic that we're talking about, confrontation is a huge thing with people. Most people avoid it like the plague. They don't want to have any form of confrontation. They want the status quo. They don't want to rock the boat, whatever term you want to use. The challenge is I try to get my clients to rephrase or reframe the concept of confrontation from confrontation to a difficult conversation. Why don't we just have why don't we have an uncomfortable conversation rather than a confrontation, right? And coming from a place of personal responsibility, right? Okay, so I'm feeling blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure what it is that has me feeling this way. I'm just wondering if you would be open to having a conversation around this. Let's just say it's something like that. So the whole concept of confrontation has people, you build these huge gaps between people because you do everything possible to avoid confrontation rather than just saying, hey, can we have an uncomfortable conversation and find the gold in it?
I agree.
Yeah, so confrontation is certainly a big one. And personal responsibility is a big one. And then the other one, sorry, I was just going to, I love that you tapped into reaction rather than response. So there's this really cool sort of theory called the stimulus response theory. And so you have a stimulus, which is maybe someone didn't do their laundry and it's driving you crazy. That's the stimulus. The more space you create between that stimulus and your response is going to assure that you actually have a healthy response as opposed to an unhealthy reaction. So if the time is really short, chances are you're going to be a bottle rocket and you're going to have something to clean up. If you take a breath and walk away and okay, what's really important here? What's going on? Chances are you're probably going to have a somewhat healthy response.
For everyone who's watching, so I think sometimes people may call those triggers, right? Like you mentioned the laundry and things of that nature. And I always, for everyone who's watching this, I want you to understand that we all have something that's going to drive us absolutely crazy when it happens, right? But we can't blow things up, key cars, burn clothes, right? This isn't a rom-com movie. We need to understand that we're all adults at the end of the day, and we need to be able to control ourselves and have some form of dignity. And I say that because it's easier, as you mentioned, to have a reaction than it is to maybe have a healthier response. I know how much of myself I put into my work and how much I have learned through the work of helping others. Are you the same way? Like, how much of yourself do you put in your work and how much have you learned from the things that you do?
I believe to be a really great coach, you have to have done the work first. You can't coach what's in blinders if you haven't coached what's in your own blinders. So yeah, doing the personal work is absolutely critical to this type of work. And I never stop learning. I'm a passionate learner. So for as long as I live, I will continue to learn and read and share and learn and read and share and grow and expand and create new awarenesses. And I mean, if we circle right back to our original conversation about purpose, everything that we've talked about today is part of your purpose in order to step into the amazingness of who you are. Like, everyone is amazing. They were born amazing. They learned to be not amazing. Every single person was born amazing. And through the experiences of life, we unlearned that we're amazing. So now, stepping into your purpose and just being the amazing version of you is learning awareness, learning how to have difficult conversations, understanding that you are not your roles. All of that is all part of your purpose, to grow and to learn and to share, and to grow and to learn and to share.
I'm wondering what Mia's purpose is right now.
My purpose is to share and to lead others to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be.
And I know from our conversations, you're doing a great job at that, right?
Thank you. I just had a really beautiful opportunity that was given to me. I've had a feeling since I was very young, like maybe 19 years old. I've always had this feeling that I'm meant to go to Africa and I am meant to do some empowerment work with women. So just imagine, I'm like 57 now. So that was a long time ago that I was sure. So I was just accepted as a mentor advisor for CESO, which is the Canadian Executive Services Organization. And guess where they're sending me for my first trip? Africa, West Africa, to do some empowerment work with some women that are starting a green business there. So it's, for me, it's almost like I'm settling into all the hard work I've done my whole life to be able to share and support other people on their journey. It's like, okay, now I get to just sit back and, be on the bus and just, because it's going, and I'm just happy to be on it.
How does that feel that it's like it's full circle now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm pretty excited about that. Like, just to really be able to use this skill set, the same skill set as you have, to really be able to use this skill set to empower and support people who might not otherwise have the opportunity, because of course we live in a society where we have access to anything and everything we want. But that's not necessarily the way it is everywhere else in the world. So to be able to share this skill set philanthropically is just, for me, the greatest gift.